and there is no idea of his whereabouts. He made no public appearance after he criticized China's financial regulatory system during a controversial speech he gave in October 2020. The tech billionaire did not show up for his show, Africa's Business Heroes, in November. He was unavailable to judge the show and was replaced by an Alibaba executive, Lucy Peng. This was just before his tech firm, Ant Group, was getting ready for the world's largest initial public offering. After Jack Ma publicly criticized the Chinese financial regulatory system, the government introduced some rules that disqualified the Ant Group, and had to willingly stop its Hong Kong listing that same day. That sort of high-profile disappearance is not the first that has happened in China, with the international community oddly being silent about them. It could be that calling out China on these matters would spark economic or political retaliation. There's much more going on behind the scenes, and we're surely going to tell you all there is to know about it. Make sure you watch this video until the end, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. On October 24, 2020, Jack Ma gave a public speech at a conference in Shanghai where he criticized local regulators and the Chinese banking sector. He said that the regulatory system was stifling innovation. In his words, "We shouldn't use the way to manage a train station to regulate an airport. We cannot regulate the future with yesterday's means. Today's financial system is the legacy of the industrial age. We must set up a new one for the next generation and young people. We must reform the current system," Ma also said in the speech. He gave the speech in the presence of top officials in the country. These include Governor of China's Central Bank, Yi Gang, Vice Minister at the Ministry of Finance, Zhou Jiayi, and Wang Qishan, former Secretary Sa. Ma's comments followed a speech by Wang, which came with a warning that regulation and financial innovation should be balanced. However, it was the Chinese entrepreneur's speech that got trending on social media. His words were seen as a direct attack on the Chinese regulatory system. Jack Ma has not been seen by the public eye for 2 months after this ordeal, and there are many speculations about his whereabouts. The reply to Jack Ma's speech was prompt and harsh. Prior to his speech, Ma's Ant Group was prepared to raise a huge amount in a dual listing initial public offering, IPO, on November 5th, just 2 weeks after his revolutionary speech. This would have been the world's biggest IPO of $34 billion, but the government had other ideas. It is reported that the Chinese president himself, Xi Jinping, personally instructed regulators to dig into Ant's financial risks. The Chinese government then instructed new micro-lending rules that affected the Ant Group and disqualified it in its IPO. These moves directly impacted the lucrative online lending and credit business and cost Ant Group nearly 40% of their revenue. They went on to pull the Shanghai listing, and the Ant Group had to stop the Hong Kong listing on the same day. Although the amendments to the financial technology regulatory system in China are said to be the reason for the public offering halt, some analysts believe that this suspension was more than likely related to the remarks of Ma in October. This was probably just a bold statement from the government that all private entrepreneurs were still under their authority, irrespective of how rich the statement has made them. Authorities in China believe that such outsized influence of these companies is a risk to the country's political and economic stability. The promising listing of the Ant Group has since been dashed to the ground, as experts say that even if the Ant Group still emerges on the stock exchange, it won't look exactly like the fintech record-breaking disruptor that it was expected to be. Ant's business was initially a private fintech firm that had the freedom from the regulations that other traditional financial institutions were under. This meant that it was moving millions of customers to its base. Unfortunately, with these new regulations, it will mean that China will have to play a bigger role in the way Ant is being run, and makes the Chinese Communist Party more involved in the private company. This move by the government also made Jack Ma some billions poorer, as the anti-monopoly investigation made the shares of Alibaba drop by a quarter, which meant that about $10 billion of Ma's fortune was gone. This brought him down to the 3rd place in the ranking of the richest people in China, coming in behind Colin Huang, CEO of Pinduoduo, and Pony Ma Huanteng of Tencent Holdings. Ma currently has a net worth of $63.1 billion based on the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. Right now, no one has heard from the billionaire. Even as a Communist Party member, he still remains out of sight. All his social media pages have been dormant since October. Well, this isn't the first time that powerful businessmen and celebrities have gone, quote, missing in China after some tussles with the government. In 2013, Xi Jinping, president of China, introduced laws that made secret detentions illegal under law. In the past 2 years, some high-profile disappearances have happened, including that of movie star Fan Bingbing and gene editing scientist He Jiankui. One of China's highest-paid actresses, Fan Bingbing, was detained by Chinese authorities in June 2018 over alleged tax evasion. She was taken away silently by Chinese authorities after it was posted that she had allegedly signed split contracts. It was reported that she was placed under residential surveillance in a holiday resort in Jiangsu. Her whereabouts were unknown for about 100 days, and there was no public statements to explain her disappearance. She emerged publicly on a social media site called Weibo to admit to signing split contracts for a film and apologized to the citizens of the country. After this, she kept a low profile. Another case is that of Chinese scientist He Jiankui, who was editing genes of twin sisters, Nana and Lulu, and made the headlines after his announcement on YouTube. After this announcement, the Chinese government, many scientists, and his own university denounced him for using such a gene editing technology known as CRISPR-Cas9 in order to change the embryonic genes of twins that he was trying to protect from the HIV virus, which their father carried. Dr. He Jiankui defended himself at the Human Genome Editing Summit in Hong Kong in November 2018. This is where he was last publicly seen, as he had disappeared the day after this summit. There were published photographs of him standing on the balcony of an apartment on the Sust grounds in December 2018. At that time, he was believed to have been under house arrest, guarded by around 12 men in the apartment complex. However, on December 30th, 2019, he was charged with illegal medical practice and sentenced to 3 years in prison with a fine of 3 million yen. He was also banned from working with human reproductive technology. One more high-profile individual who mysteriously went missing is former Interpol president Meng Hongwei, who lived with his wife and children in France and went back to China in September 2018. At the time, he was China's vice minister for public security, and he was reported missing by his wife after she got a text of a knife emoji from him on September 29th, 2018. It was announced then by the Chinese authorities that he was suspected of bribery and other crimes. It was also stated that he brought trouble upon himself, and that led to his investigation. He was to serve as Interpol chief until 2020, but the organization stated that he attended a resignation letter apparently signed by Mr. Meng, but provided by Beijing. He was then sentenced to 13 years in jail for his corrupt acts. So, where is Jack Ma? His silence has gotten too loud to not be noticed. Ma was absent from the final round of an African talent show that he created, which was called Africa's Business Heroes, a competition for entrepreneurs. He was replaced as a judge by an Alibaba executive, Lucy Peng. In response to questions about Ma's location, an Alibaba representative said that he was absent due to scheduling conflict. We will not forget to mention that Ma had been excited about the finale after making a statement in early October that he was looking forward to meeting the finalists at the finale. If the Chinese government is really suppressing Ma in this way, it may be bad for business in China, as the entrepreneur class have a low morale for investing in China, and this could also be a red signal for foreign investors coming to China. This could be seen as an increase in political uncertainty in the country, a very bad atmosphere for business anywhere. Many countries in the West already see China and its businesses as a threat worthy of heavy sanctions and scrutiny. This is because there's tension that comes from fears that all Chinese corporations are actively controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. It seems that one of the voices for the open market in China has been abruptly silenced. This may pose a problem to the international community, as no one is sure whether he has been detained by authorities as a result of his forward thinking and attacks against the government. CNBC anchor reported that the Alibaba founder is not missing, but has decided to lay low. He is being less visible, purposely, Faber said, and you can expect for that to be the case for some time. The reporter said that Ma is simply laying low amidst the Chinese Communist Party's crackdown on Alibaba and Ant Group. Faber went on to say, he may not have shown up, but he is not missing. He hasn't been captured, he hasn't been taken. Also, Reuters reported that Ma may have been directed to lay low due to China's regulatory crackdown. The reporter also said that Jack Ma may likely be in Hangzhou, where the Alibaba headquarters are. Jack Ma had already stepped back from leading the company's operations in 2019. You would wonder what this means for growing Chinese businesses and what it could mean for the entrepreneurs in the country. Is the government completely in charge, or is there still a private sector in China? Could it be that the authorities have decided to take over Jack Ma's empire and get him silent, or the billionaire is just trying to take some time off from the public for the time being while he recovers from the losses due to the new regulations? Well, we'll have to wait and see Jack Ma to know what really happened behind